Welcome back, experts. Thank you for joining the show. Meet the experts with Casey Pacheco. Now, we've had so many beautiful people come on, and we've had a lot of nurses, and maybe we've even had social workers. We've had just people working for the good of the community. Now, somebody that we work very closely with as nurses, pharmacy. I have a beautiful pharmacist by trade, by education, but she's doing such beautiful work in the community. Her name is Claudia Cometa, and I want to invite her in. Welcome in, Claudia. There
Thank you
you
so much.
are.
Thank you so much, Casey. I'm happy to be here.
Now you came highly recommended because of the work that you're doing, really impacting and touching the community and people's lives. You want to share some with our audience, the work that you do here in Florida?
Sure. Yeah, it's always a loaded question, right? You try to encapsulate a lifetime of passions and experience into a short time. So I will attempt again. But I love that I am in a great healthcare professional company with you and your other guests. So yeah, I trained and graduated as a pharmacist from the University of Florida in 2003. So that was really my focus was clinical pharmacy. So I stayed mostly out of retail for the vast majority of my career and worked alongside medical teams. I, rounded in hospital settings. I worked in ambulatory care settings as kind of a drug information resource. I worked in anticoagulation clinics back when, warfarin was the cool guy in town, and now it's not. So, lots has changed, but yeah, so I worked for many years, over a decade in that field. And then for the first time of any significance, I faced a sort of a health challenge with my family member, and my dad was diagnosed with lymphoma in 2016. And so it really forced me to evaluate and live the patient experience. And I hadn't, honestly. I mean, I feel blessed that I hadn't, but then I also was shocked and shocked that I was shocked at how terrible the experience was. And so it really brought to light a lot of the gaps and a lot of the holes in the medical system and where we're really failing. And oftentimes we don't even realize it. And, what's actually happening on the other side is not what we think is happening. How they're sensing it, feeling it, their perspective of care is not what we think we're providing. So I really learned a lot in that year, both clinically of what's going wrong, but also just from the experience side of what's going wrong. So in 2017, my dad ended up passing away, and I started what was then Peace Advocacy Group. I have now rebranded to Avanti Health Consultants, but the same work continues. And so what that looks like is I help people navigate through the medical system. So I meet them where they're at. Sometimes that's in the ICU, and sometimes that's, an entrepreneur who just got a scary diagnosis. Sometimes that's the mom of an 8-year-old who is struggling with a variety of things. And so it really goes wide and deep. And so I meet them where they're at, and then we kind of walk together. So I lock arms with them. Where is it that we don't have the answers we need? Where is it that you want to go? That's the first priority, is what are your goals? Because people don't get asked that, and they don't even know they're allowed to have health goals, right? And so, what is your goal? What are you looking to get out of it? For some people, it's I want to avoid as much medication as possible. For some people, it's I actually just want to optimize the Western medical system, and I don't want anything alternative. And so, and what does that look like long term? What does health look like? Maybe that's some people want to run a marathon, and some people simply want to be able to enjoy their grandkids. So whatever the goal is, and then we lock arms and we go there together. So that's kind of in a nutshell what it looks like.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sure you and your team, you're really helping people, because that is the hardest thing to do, is to navigate the system. And sometimes even as healthcare workers, we have a hard time navigating the system that we work and that we're part of. So I say kudos to you. You're doing excellent work. I wanted to get to know you a little bit, and I asked rapid fire questions just so that I can not talk so much and I can hear all what your perspectives are. Are you ready?
Sure, let's go.
Okay. So Claudia, if you could share one piece of advice with your younger self, what would it be and why?
I would say be willing to surrender. I feel like I, as probably most people do, want to control, feel like we have more control than we do. And I think I would share the wisdom that it's okay and encourage, but sometimes let go, and allow life to do what it's going to do.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. If you had the power to change or transform one major aspect of healthcare, what would it be and how would it impact the system or the people it serves?
Mm. So right now, I would say, and this is a fluid situation, right? But I would say I have done certification in what's called unreasonable hospitality, and what I really feel that needs to happen is a deeper level of hospitality brought into healthcare, and what that looks like is deeper communication, more attentive staff to what the patients need. What it feels like is what you feel like when you go into a luxury hotel or a fine dining restaurant and you feel completely heard, seen, and taken care of. That's what I feel the healthcare system needs right now.
Ooh, that's a beautiful one. In your experience, what is one skill or mindset that most often prevents people from reaching true success?
Mm. Um, yeah, I've taught a lot of advocates, healthcare professionals who want to become advocates. And what I see the most, and oftentimes in pharmacists, we all have our like minds. I feel like each healthcare professional group kind of have their mindset blocks. And for pharmacists, it's extreme perfectionism to the point that they stop themselves. It's perfectionism and the need for permission is what I would say. So the mindset that we cannot do something that somebody else has not given, we have not earned a degree in, a certificate in, or somebody hasn't given us permission to do. So we're like waiting for that permission, but also we feel like we can't move forward in that thing until we have perfected it, which of course is an unreasonable and impossible goal. So I feel like those two things are what I see over and over and over again in people attempting to move out of their job and into something like entrepreneurship.
Yes, and I have a few questions about that for you. So how does your current body of work with Avanti align with the powerful impact and legacy that you wish to leave behind?
Yeah, well, after my first client called me months later and said, "I just want you to know you're doing the work you're supposed to be doing." It would like whenever you start something, you're always questioning, am I on the right path, and how do I know? And you're in that kind of flux period. But I feel like he grounded me in saying that, and I have felt very confident that I am on the path I'm supposed to be. And for each person that I'm taking care of, each one of my clients, they feel like what I just described. They feel like they're in fine dining or luxury. They feel completely seen, heard. And so my hope is that I am setting a new standard for what it looks like in healthcare to have access to people that you need, to be seen and heard, to not be dismissed. And although right now that's on a small scale because it's just with my clients, I certainly hope that expands with other people, like other advocates that I have under me who are duplicating that, and also for the physicians who see my work because I'm at the appointment. So I'm hoping that it kind of snowballs. And of course, there are other advocates and people like me. So as a collective, I hope we're sort of raising the bar a bit.
I love it. I love it. How what is one impressive or meaningful thing that you have either done or been a part of that most people do not know about?
Hmm. I share a lot of my professional life on LinkedIn. So, well, let me think of something personal. Well, I'm a dual citizen in Italy. They may not know that. So I am a little bit obsessed with European culture as it pertains to wellness, mostly because of the way the culture is, the way that they communicate, the way that they live in community, but they also the what they eat, the way they structure their lives around each other and not their work. So it's just a completely different approach to life. And every time I go there, so half of my family is in Italy, and I've been going there since I was 3 months old. And so every time I go there, it's like, how is this happening here? And our lives are like the 180 opposite. How is it that we have not even begun to adopt a fraction of what they're doing? And and they're drinking alcohol and they're smoking cigarettes like all day long, and they're outliving us, by like 6-7 years. So what is happening with that, and why aren't we looking into it? We have, blue zones and stuff, but why aren't we adopting some of these habits? So I'm a little bit obsessed with a European culture for that reason.
Now, are you do trips, you do retreat? You take people over to Italy? Can you tell me a little bit more about that work?
I do, but it's my first one will be in April. So I just did a local pop up, like an Italian immersion day in Tampa, with the intention of doing as much as we can here. Like how much can we do in a day to really feel the culture, and can it even be possible? So that prototype already happened, and that worked out well. It was a success. So in April, my very first group, I will take to Tuscany, and with the intention of really living the Italian life like you would if you were living there. So we're not staying in hotels. We're not going to tourist attractions. So it will be very much like, what does it look like to live here? And how does that feel? And how does it, what do you see? What do you smell? Like all of the senses. And it won't be, a typical European vacation. Like I already told the group, if you want to go see something, cause it's your first time, it's outside of what we're doing. Cause this is a very intentional, we're staying at like a multiple centuries old place where like it's been in the family for years, like it's going to be a different feel. So yes, April will be the first.
Well, I wish you success, And so before I talk a little bit about business, I really love how you have combined your passion to help people in your business, to help the community, but then you also retain the passion that you love to travel to Europe, and you're just weaving this so beautifully all into one, where you actually are going to have a beautiful life, a life well lived, and a life that served others. Now, I like to say, as nurses, you say we always have that one thing in our profession that we just get hung up on. And I think as nurses, our hearts bleed. So we just want to give everything and do everything. And sometimes our hands are not as open for it to come back to us. And one really good way for things that we do to come back to us is via business strategy. How have you been able to pivot where you are doing good work, but you're actually running and sustaining a viable system of work where you can be compensated, you can actually give the care that is needed, and you can actually raise the level and standard because you have the means to do so. Could you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah. And, this is where I'm at now is miles, miles, miles away from where I was started. I started without really a mentor, without a coach, which I don't necessarily recommend, but I didn't know any better then. And so I didn't know how to price my services. The only benchmark I had was what I got paid as a pharmacist. So that I took on that as my value because I didn't have another number. So I started out in a place that was clearly not sustainable. And so looking back, realized that the energy with which I was providing services was impacted by that. So over the years, that has shifted, obviously, many, many times and in many different ways. And so where I'm at now, I value myself to where it feels absolutely right. I always over deliver. So my clients actually pay me in a quarterly retainer, and they basically have 24/7 access to me. So I have created a situation where there will never be a feeling of being dismissed. There will never be a feeling of I can't access my healthcare professional. I can't get an answer, because there's a sense, as you know, in healthcare, there's a sense of urgency on the patient's part when something's not right, when they don't, and they really need somebody's advice who maybe isn't the, ED doctor, or, somebody who's known them for many years and can compile all of that data. What medications are you on? Where are you, all of the things that individual in the ED, it doesn't know. And so having access is important. And so I value myself in a way that's lucrative and sustainable, but also the client feels like they have agency in deciding that this is important to them. So investing in their health in this way is also an energetic positive for them. And so I've come to a place where that meets so amazingly. And I teach my students, advocacy students, that you will most likely undervalue yourself when you begin, and that's okay, that's normal, but just know that that doesn't have to be where you stay. And when you get to a point where you're valuing yourself appropriately, you can always take on a pro bono client if you choose. So I have taken on pro bono clients, not necessarily long term, but like if I get a phone call and I know that somebody's in a deep, dark place, like I will help them through that. I'm not going to leave anybody hanging. But when you value yourself and you create a sustainable business, as you know, you then have agency to make those decisions versus always living in scarcity because we all are. I mean, most people don't go into healthcare because it's the moneymaker. We go because we want to help people, and so we're bleeding hearts, right? Like we're compassionate people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be buying a franchise or what, like we'd be doing other things. So so I think that there's that reality of the types of personalities that we have, and most of us don't have an MBA or weren't taught how to run a business in our trades, and so we have to learn as we go. And so this is what I've learned is learning how to value yourself, value your services. Like I said, always over deliver, and so I have a really good relationship with my clients in that way. And I think that if you don't do it that way and you continue to undervalue yourself because you feel like you need to give your services for free because you have, like as a pharmacist in a Walgreens, you are you're the most accessible person, right? A nurse in their setting is the most accessible person, right? Like the most accessible clinical person. And so we are used to being the accessible one and giving information and giving help for free or whatever we're getting paid by our employer. And so it's a mindset shift. It's a huge mindset shift. And so it will take some time, but you'll get there.
It is a mindset shift. And, just putting this information out, I have been a big proponent when I became a holistic nurse and I started private practice, deeply undervalued, undercut myself. I mean, I'm telling you, I should have just done it for free because the amount I was charging was crazy. However, learning that when you charge, it's not just about you and your needs, but you're also saying you're putting a value for the buyer of what they think they need to invest in themselves. And where we are living in a system where chronic health and self emotional, physical, mental neglect is rampant, it's as though you're forcing the buyer to say, what do you value your life at? How do you value your health? And now your presence echoes that, the value of life, of their life, in the service that you're bringing. So I really do honor you. And I really do see it. It's not a common model, but I think it should be. It should be a model where we are investing in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to talk a little bit. I know we're in the space, and here this goes out to LinkedIn, and there's a lot of nurses who may say, "Oh my gosh, she's doing what I've wanted to do. How do I become part of her?" Does she hire nurses? We are advocates too. Some nurses are in the advocacy business, or it might just be someone say, "I went through the same experience, and I would love to be an advocate. I would love to do what she does." Do you have any words for these people who are looking on?
Yeah, I did it and I didn't have any mentor or coach, and I would not recommend doing it that way. I do think it is super helpful to have somebody to guide you. I have a few programs. Well, I have an online course that has been in existence for like 5 years now that is about to sunset at the end of November. But access, like once you access it, you can download it and have access forever. But the intention there was to give people everything that I wish I had at the beginning. That is, how do you start thinking differently? Mindset, what are some of the mindset blocks? How do you work through them? How do you start to question what your subconscious is trying to do and keep you safe? And so a lot of it is mindset, because I can give you logistics all day long. You can Google logistics all day long. You can Google Google, you can put together, a client agreement just online practically. Although I don't recommend that, but you really could do a lot of this and figure it out. But at the end of the day, it's your mindset that's going to stop you, not the logistics. So it's a combination of all of that. It's mindset and logistics. But so I have that, but then I also work one-on-one with people who want to do something else in healthcare, whether it's advocacy, or I just actually mentored an amazing pharmacist who wants to be in the sort of corporate perimenopause and menopause space. So like, how do we increase awareness in a corporate setting in that way? And so but the point there is that the world really is your oyster. There are so many gaps and there's so many needs. And so part of the process is getting really deep clarity on what do you actually want to do? Because when you start your own business, you really do have complete control of what that looks like. And a lot of us aren't used to that. We're used to being told what we do. Like, here's your job description. Here's what a nurse does. Here's what a pharmacist does. And we don't think outside of that. And so to feel like we have that autonomy and agency and just like deciding what that looks like feels almost anarchist or unethical or whatever, so people kind of can't wrap their heads around that. But I do think that, part of my course is actually clarity. And the intention there is like, you need some depth of clarity around what you want to do. Because what you think you want to do could really just be tied into what you feel your job description has been. And it sounds like the easiest thing moving forward, but you might have a much deeper passion that could and should be explored. So a lot of it is clarity, but yeah, so I would encourage anybody to have some type of a coach, some type of a mentor to just guide them through that process, because otherwise you could very easily build something that you hate. Like, you could build a business that you don't even want to work in. So,
Yes.
so it's not, this fantasy of like, just, get the LLC, get the website and make a logo. Like, you build something that you actually love and you love the work that you do. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, how would you, if someone's like, I need her services, I would love to have someone walk me through, how would they reach out to you?
Email is great. You can go to my website. So my website is Consult Avanti. So CONSULTAVANTI. Avanti is Italian word for forward. So it's like, we're all moving forward, right? So consultavanti.com. And my email is claudia@consultavanti.com. So email is a great way to reach me. Also, just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on there quite a bit, usually at least once a day. I'm in DMs or responding to comments or whatever. So LinkedIn is a fantastic place. If you forget all of that and you're listening to this and you didn't write it down, just go to LinkedIn and find me.
Beautiful. What a beautiful being you are. And I think from a holistic perspective, I believe we bring health into the world through us, like a medium where we are joyful beings and we are living our best life. And that this is the medium which we improve the system. So thank you for being an advocate and a light. And we'll definitely have to have you back to hear about this Italian trip.
Yes, I would love to. I'll take really good notes, and I'm happy to come back. Maybe I'll even share some Italian words with you. I'm in Italian classes right now, so my hope is I'll be fluent too.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. And you know what? If you ever do that Italian experience again in Tampa, I would definitely want to be there.
amazing. I would love to have you. I'm so glad that we're so close. Yeah, coffee
Yes,
soon for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Claudia, this has been an absolute pleasure. You, in less than 30 minutes, shared so many gems with us. You are an expert in your own right, and we appreciate having you. Now, audience, look, I asked Claudia all my questions and more. I know you have some questions for Claudia. What would you like to ask her? What would you like to hear about being a healthcare advocate, about transitioning from being employee to being an entrepreneur, or just doing something that just brings your soul alive? Please leave your comments below. She will surely get back to you. This lives on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect to her. And we will see you next time on Meet the Experts. Thank you, Claudia.
Sure. Thank you for having me.